Welcome to iRise Conversations with Joan. Welcome to another enlightening episode of iRise Conversations with Joan. My name is Joan Nwosu. Today we have the distinct honor of introducing a truly exceptional guest, Harriet Tubman Wright. She's a multifaceted entrepreneur who wears many hats and is dedicated to helping others find fulfillment and freedom. Her journey is a combination of expertise and wisdom, as you will learn. She's an accomplished speaker, a storyteller, a published author, a poet, a person-centered expressive arts facilitator, a metaphysician, an initiated priestess, and an elder. Her role as the director of the Wright Resort, which is your soul safari to success, speaks to her mission of guiding spiritual women entrepreneurs towards fulfilling their passions. At the Wright Resort, Harriet empowers women to lead healthy, purposeful, and prosperous lives by doing what they love and serving others. Her work is not only about individual transformation, but also about contributing to the healing of our world. Beautiful. Welcome, Harriet, to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You're so many, you wear so many hats and you're so many things. It's so impressive. So we're really happy to have you here with us today. So take us back to your life, just a little snapshot of your own personal journey and how you were also able to find your purpose and live a fulfilling life.
I'm going to make this as concise as possible. Thank you. I was born in Kansas City, Missouri. Our family traveled to Tuskegee, Alabama, and to eventually to Oakland, California. So I really grew up in Oakland, California, went through public schools, got my first master's in Hayward, which is south of Oakland, and also at Holy Names University. So I started out as a counselor. When I did go to Howard, and I had to decide on a major. And so I thought it would be education, but when I went into the classroom, I thought every one of these children needs individual attention. I think I'm going to be a counselor instead. And of course, now it's my senior year, and Angela Davis' trial was going on, and I learned that she had been a philosophy major. And I said, well, I'm gonna be a philosophy major. And that's what 5 philosophy classes this semester and 6, and then I graduated in the summer. So the philosophy is, it's a foundation, but it was really inspired by my shero, Angela Davis. I've been fortunate to live in West Africa. I lived in, at that time it was Upper Volta, but we know it now as Burkina Faso. Yeah. And doing development work, or what we thought was development work, digging wells, working with the women around vegetable gardening and health. Like come to the clinic before it's time to have your baby.
Just show up like I'm in labor.
Well, and the village chief selected 2 women and 2 men for this training, and I thought, this is great because the men should be involved. They are involved, but be involved in this way. Later, I spent a couple of years in Nairobi, and I was a regional representative for East Africa and the Indian Ocean. So that gave me an opportunity to travel from Ethiopia and Somalia all the way down to Namibia. And I spent some time thinking that maybe I want to work in South Africa, but I was in Zimbabwe, and every time I watched the TV, I'd be so angry because I'd be reminded of our civil rights movement with the dogs and the hoses. And I said, if I'm feeling this way, it's no way I can be helpful, so that was that. And my son was born in Nairobi, and because I could not, I wanted to operate on American dollars or euro or something, not local currency. And I was actually going to be interviewed for a position with the World YWCA, which is based in Geneva. And African women had interviewed me, and all I was concerned is, oh, gee, I hope I don't leak through my blouse. And so then, and so when I called, I said, well, do you have babysitting? She said, oh, well, because I had said I had a young child.
Yeah.
I didn't say child was a few weeks old. I said I have a young child. And she said, operator, oh, well, if you have a young child, this job is not appropriate because it involves so much travel. So I came back to the States after that and really experienced culture shock,
Mm.
extreme culture shock, because I had someone who would wash cloth diapers
Yeah.
and all of that, and the other thing is, when I was in West Africa, there'd be times of the year where eggplant was the only thing in the market. So you learn 20 different ways to fix egg. You go to a store here, a whole row of cereal, a whole row is bread,
Yeah.
and Pampers. So, it was real. And then I had to buy all new clothes for a Western market, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it was major culture shock. It really, really was. And eventually I started working with the city of Oakland, and I worked in every different department except the police department. I worked in every department. And the last one was the fire department. And my favorite was the cultural arts, craft and cultural arts. I mean, I worked with Feather River Camp. So, these are enrichment kinds of programs. But the fire department, I was head at the citizens, it was called CORE, Citizens of Oakland Respond to Emergencies, because people want to help when there's an emergency, but you want to train them to help as opposed to hurting themselves. And so it was quite an enriching program, but they wanted to move it. The people wanted to move it to another part of the fire department. I said, I'm not doing that. So I was written up for insubordination. My pay was docked, and I had to go to something called a Skelly hearing. So, I had to involve the union. And I went in with a bowl, I took a bowl and I put water in it, because in the Dagara tradition, water is healing. And so I thought, they don't need to know I'm just putting this water in here. And maybe it'll keep me from showing out. They say, don't get East Oakland on you. So anyway, that was the thing that I really turned in my retirement papers, because it's like, these people don't know who I am, and I'm not going to waste my time here. I have other things to do. And I had already been doing my business, the Right Resort, but it was body, mind, spirit, health, and wellness initially. And so I retired. I came back. My father had been in a nursing home, so I needed to deal with his financial, medical, and legal affairs. So I took all this time off. And when I went back, I said, oh, I just came back to clean up my office, and I'm out of here. And one of the things, even when I envisioned the Right Resort, it was going to be a physical plant where women come to take care and be taken care of. That was the notion. And because I didn't associate with anybody rich enough to invest in developing it, I started doing the programs in other people's homes. And I would rent space and what have you, but it was clear, particularly, and it was primarily Black women, and others, but primarily Black women. And it was very clear that the notion of self-care was important. The notion of what I call soul's calling. It means that if you're frustrated and stressed in some job or some environment, and you're just, you're withering, because this isn't really who you are, and who you were born to be, what you were born to do. This is what soul's calling is about. And so that's when I started that focus. I mean, if we're going to be here, some of us do have more than one life, but at least in this one, let's do something meaningful, and let's have fun. I'm a creative person, and I need to be that kind of environment is supportive. So that's where I got the soul's calling piece. And then more recently, I've moved to what I call social change, and it really means that we are in a paradigm shift. Clearly, we are in a paradigm shift. We cannot persist. Mother Earth, Mother Nature will be here. The question is whether humanity will be here. And I feel like patriarchy and capitalism have shown us who they are, and now it's our turn as women. And I say the divine feminine and the sacred masculine. And let us be about coming together cooperatively, collectively, collaboratively to create the shift, because we've got to do it in community. It's not this one-upman individualist. That is just a thing of the past. And I know that there is resistance to that by those who think they're in power, and that's what they think. But we know a major shift is occurring, and we want to support, encourage, and empower spiritual women of all ages, because, you know, yes, elders have some wisdom and some experience, but the millennials and the Gen X's and Gen Z's and all bring something to the table more than technical skills, because we know in indigenous cultures, they think 7 generations. And so they have more, and the younger people have more vested interest in the future than an elder. So let's come together at the same table and bring our gifts and skills and talents together to co-create the change that is required. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That is a powerful story, and I can relate to so many things. I'm not at the elder stage yet, but so many things that you said around, you know, the shift that is happening, because it is happening. So question though, because you did mention that you choose to work with spiritual women. So first of all, what does that mean, a spiritual woman? Because some people might argue we're all spiritual beings. So why this delineation, spiritual women?
Because, well, first of all,